The full moon hung low in the ink-black sky as three adventurous teenagers, Jake, Emma, and Ryan, set out to explore the eerie mysteries of an old abandoned graveyard on the outskirts of their small town. Halloween night had cast its haunting spell on the ancient tombstones, and the wind whispered through the skeletal branches of the gnarled trees that surrounded the desolate cemetery. The iron gate groaned as Jake pushed it open, its rusty hinges protesting the intrusion. The air grew colder as they stepped inside, the atmosphere thick with the weight of forgotten souls. The moonlight played tricks on the shadows, creating ghostly figures that danced among the tombstones. Excitement filled the air as the trio ventured deeper into the graveyard. They laughed nervously, trying to shake off the growing unease that clung to them like a shroud. The graveyard seemed frozen in time, with moss-covered statues and weathered graves bearing witness to centuries gone by. As the clock struck midnight, a distant howl echoed through the graveyard, sending a shiver down their spines. Unfazed, they pressed on, unaware that the spirits of the past were watching their every move. As they approached the heart of the cemetery, an ancient mausoleum beckoned them. Its stone facade bore the scars of time, and the heavy door creaked open with an otherworldly moan. The teens exchanged nervous glances, but stepped inside, their curiosity overpowering their fear. The mausoleum's interior was bathed in an eerie glow. Flickering candles lined the walls, casting dancing shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. Suddenly, the heavy door slammed shut, trapping them inside. Panic set in as they struggled to reopen it, but the iron gate held firm. A soft, disembodied voice echoed through the chamber. "You trespass in a realm long forgotten, seeking thrills on this sacred night. But heed this warning, for you have awakened the spirits that rest within." The temperature plummeted, and ghostly apparitions materialized around them. Faces etched with sorrow and eyes filled with anguish stared into their very souls. The spirits, once restless, were now determined to teach these intruders a lesson. The atmosphere became suffocating as the spirits revealed glimpses of their tragic pasts. Unresolved tales of lost love, betrayal, and untimely deaths unfolded before the terrified teens. The air crackled with the energy of the supernatural, and the graveyard itself seemed to come alive with spectral energy. The spirits spoke in unison, their voices a haunting chorus. "Feel the weight of our pain. Understand the consequences of your intrusion. Let our stories be etched in your memory forevermore." Terrified and remorseful, the teenagers pleaded for release. The spirits, however, were relentless. The graveyard transformed into a surreal dreamscape, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as the spirits forced the teens to confront their own fears and regrets. At the first light of dawn, the iron gate creaked open, releasing the shaken and changed teenagers. As they stumbled out into the cold morning air, they knew that the night's events would forever linger in the recesses of their minds. Haunted by the lessons of the spirits, Jake, Emma, and Ryan emerged from the old graveyard with a newfound respect for the past and the consequences of their actions. The abandoned graveyard, once a mere backdrop for a Halloween adventure, had become a place etched in their memories, a chilling reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead. In the days that followed, the trio struggled to shake off the residual effects of that fateful Halloween night. Nightmares plagued their sleep, vivid visions of the sorrowful spirits and the haunting whispers that echoed in the mausoleum. They found themselves haunted not only by the supernatural entities they had encountered, but also by the guilt that accompanied their disregard for the resting place of the deceased. Each teen began experiencing strange occurrences. Jake, once the skeptic of the group, saw flickering shadows and heard phantom footsteps when alone in his room. Emma felt an inexplicable chill in the air, even on the warmest of days, and her reflection in the mirror sometimes distorted into a ghostly visage. Ryan, who had always been the daredevil, was tormented by a constant feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes followed his every move. Determined to find a way to put the spirits to rest and lift the supernatural weight that clung to them, the trio delved into local archives and historical records. Their research led them to the forgotten stories of those buried in the graveyard, the tales of lost loves, broken promises, and lives cut short by tragedy. Realizing that the only way to appease the spirits was to acknowledge and honor their stories, Jake, Emma, and Ryan organized a memorial service at the graveyard. They invited townspeople to join them in paying respects to the forgotten souls, sharing the tales of their lives and acknowledging the pain that lingered in the air. As the last words of remembrance were spoken, a soft wind rustled through the ancient trees, carrying with it a sense of peace. The atmosphere, once heavy with sorrow, seemed to lift, and the shadows that clung to the graveyard began to dissipate. The spirits, no longer tormented, embraced the catharsis offered by the living. In the days that followed, the strange occurrences that had plagued Jake, Emma, and Ryan ceased. The graveyard, once a place of horror, transformed into a serene resting ground for the departed. The townspeople, initially skeptical of the teens' efforts, began to sense a newfound calm in the area. As time passed, Jake, Emma, and Ryan became local legends, known not for their reckless exploration, but for their role in bringing peace to the restless spirits of the old graveyard. The trio, forever changed by that Halloween night, carried with them the lessons learned from the other side. A profound respect for the past, and the understanding that the veil between the living and the dead is delicate and deserving of reverence. And so the old graveyard, once trapped in a cycle of forgotten sorrow, became a place of reflection and remembrance, where the stories of the departed were honored, and the spirits found solace in the acknowledgement of their existence. The memory of that haunted Halloween night lingered, not as a nightmare, but as a reminder of the transformative power of redemption and the enduring connection between the living and the dead. Years passed, and the three friends went their separate ways, each carrying the weight of that unforgettable Halloween night in their own unique manner. Despite the physical distance, a subtle connection remained, a shared understanding that transcended the boundaries of their individual lives. Jake pursued a career in historical preservation, driven by a newfound appreciation for the stories embedded in the architecture and landscapes of the past. Emma became a writer, channeling her experiences into tales of the supernatural, seeking to capture the essence of the thin veil between the realms of the living and the dead. Ryan, inspired by the events of that Halloween night, became a paranormal investigator, dedicated to helping others find closure with the spirits that lingered in the shadows. Their paths converged once more when an invitation arrived for the grand reopening of the old graveyard. A local historical society, impressed by the trio's efforts to heal the restless spirits, had undertaken a restoration project to preserve the cemetery and honor its historical significance. Gathered once again at the iron gate that had once trapped them inside, Jake, Emma, and Ryan marveled at the transformation that had taken place. The graveyard, once overgrown and forgotten, now stood as a testament to the power of redemption and the resilience of the human spirit. The grand reopening ceremony drew a crowd of townspeople, eager to witness the unveiling of the restored graveyard. As the trio walked among the gravestones, they felt a sense of gratitude from the spirits they had once disturbed. The air, now filled with a serene energy, carried whispers of gratitude. During the ceremony, the townspeople listened as Jake, Emma, and Ryan recounted their experiences and the lessons learned on that fateful Halloween night. They spoke of the forgotten lives and the importance of acknowledging the past to shape a more compassionate future. As the speeches concluded, a soft glow enveloped the graveyard. The spirits, now free from the weight of their unresolved stories, manifested in ethereal forms. Faces that had once borne expressions of sorrow now radiated peace. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of closure, and the spirits, with a final nod of gratitude, faded into the beyond. The townspeople, initially skeptical, now embraced the transformed graveyard as a place of remembrance and reflection. The iron gate, once a symbol of entrapment, became a portal between the living and the memories of those who had come before. The bond between Jake, Emma, and Ryan deepened as they stood together, witnessing the culmination of their efforts. The old graveyard, once a source of horror, now served as a bridge connecting the living and the dead, a place where stories were told and spirits found peace. And so, the tale of the haunted graveyard evolved into a story of redemption, unity, and the enduring connection between the past and the present. As the sun set on that day of renewal, the iron gate stood open, inviting both the living and the departed to coexist in harmony, a living testament to the transformative power of acknowledging and honoring the stories that reside in the shadows of history.